Good morning, Glenwood, and welcome to our online service. Morning, Rach.
Good morning, David. Nice to see you.
How
In
you
your
do-
nice bright top.
I know. Well, the theme this week is light.
So
So
you
it's
have
good of you to comment. That
dressed accordingly.
that wasn't even scripted, was
It
it?
wasn't, no.
Yeah. So we're continuing our theme on the
Yes.
environment, which I've been really enjoying.
Yeah,
It's
it has been really
fantastic.
good, hasn't it? Yeah.
And some really positive comments and engagement with church. So
Yes.
that's been fantastic.
Yes. And I've loved seeing the photos.
They've been some fantastic photos. haven't
Yeah, thank you for posting your photos on Facebook of the beauty of nature, and it's been fantastic seeing sort of all the scenery in Wales. I mean, we've got a beautiful country, haven't we? So thank you, and keep posting them.
they? Yeah,
because-
please do keep posting them.
Yeah.
'Cause it's real encouragement, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, thank you.
So, Rach, I hear you've got a joke for us this morning.
I do, and it's quite good because there's a nature theme to it.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So there's and also it's Norman and Caroline's granddaughter's joke. So there's a bit of a theme there because Caroline's sharing with us later. So it's all very
Putting it
well
together,
thought through.
seamless.
Absolutely. So, but I've written it down because I know I forget it. So, Dave, why did the owl?
Why did the owl?
Yes, because the woodpecker. You got to think about that.
I'm not there yet.
Why did the owl? Because the woodpecker.
Oh, okay, I'm there. Okay,
dear.
I'm not going to do what Paul does and explain it to everyone. If you didn't get it, play it back.
Yeah, play it
It's
back.
actually not bad.
No, I think it's quite good. I think it's very clever. So, yeah, ask Caroline if you want to know more. But yeah, I thought, thank you for that joke. Yes.
So, so we've actually got something quite exciting happening this week.
We do.
And on the theme of light.
Yes.
We've had some lovely gentlemen. Patrick from Urban Solar, I should
Urban
say,
Solar.
has been up on the roof putting down the trusses and the equipment that's going to take our solar panels.
Yay, that's exciting.
It is exciting.
So exciting. Oh, the irony of it actually is when they were up on the roof doing it, it was absolutely pouring with rain, wasn't it?
Oh, it was terrible. They had to come down. They were drenched. They were absolutely soaked.
Yeah, they were committed to their job. But it's so exciting to have that, isn't it?
It is. And to remind you why we're getting solar panels, well, not why, but how we're getting solar panels. Last October, we were contacted by a Climate Boost grant, and we were given £15,000 to spend on climate initiatives in reducing our carbon footprint. And the two things that we were given money towards were solar panels, and we're having 56 solar panels installed on top of phase 1, which equates to 21 kilowatts of energy.
That's a lot, I presume?
Apparently it's a lot, but I'll talk in monetary value because that might be more helpful.
Yeah.
So about £2,000 of energy created a year.
Wow, that's what we'll be saving.
That's what we'll
Amazing.
be saving, yes.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And if it's a very, very, very hot day, we will also be selling energy back to the grid.
Yeah, I doubt that's going to happen, is it?
In Wales.
In Wales, not the way that May is going, that's for sure.
But the rest of the grant was given to us to change all of the lights in phase 1 from metal halide bulbs to LED lights, which is again going to save us about 2/3
Amazing.
of electricity
That's
when
incredible.
they're all running.
So we're harnessing the light
We
for
are.
our energy, and we are using energy efficient lights,
We are.
which is great.
And we look forward to showing you the finished product when the panels are up. We'll get up on the roof safely and we'll take some photos or maybe a little video just to show you
That would be great.
the progress.
That would be brilliant. Yeah.
So, yes. So
Great.
what's coming up today, Rach?
So we now are going to have the second part of the reading from Tom. Oh no, it's the first part. The second part will be next week. But Tom Elmet is going to do our reading this week. Then we're going to have a song, and then we will have a faith story from Caroline. And just before that, shall I just pray to start? Lord God, I do thank you for the beauty in creation and for the light that we are given, and we thank you so much for the provision of these grants that enable us to use light in an efficient way. And Lord, I just pray, I thank you that for some, we're entering a holiday this week for teachers and for schools. We just pray your blessing on them, on children and on teachers this week as they take some time to rest from what must be such a wearisome at the moment. Lord, I pray your blessing, and I pray that this week is a time of rest and refreshment. Be with us now this morning, we pray. Amen.
Amen. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the deep waters. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good. Then God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness night. And evening passed, and morning came, marking the first day.
God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time. With no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder of light. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. In the vapor of your breath, the planets form. If the stars were made to worship, so will I can see your heart in everything you've made. Every burning star a signal fire of grace. If creation sings your praises, so will I. God of your promise, you don't speak in vain, no syllable empty or void. For once you have spoken, all nature and science follow the sound of your voice. And as you speak, 100 billion creatures catch your breath, evolving in pursuit of what you said. If it all reveals your nature, so will I can see your heart in everything you say. Every painted sky, a canvas of your grace. If creation still obeys you, so will I. So will I. chased down my heart through all of my failure and pride. On the hill you created, the light of the world abandoned in darkness to die. And as you speak, 100 billion failures disappear. Where you lost your life so I could find it here. If you left the grave behind you, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you've done. Every part designed in a work of art called love. If you gladly chose surrender, so will I. I can see your heart a billion different ways. Every precious one, a child you died to save. If you gave your life to love them, so will I. Like you would again 100 billion times. But what measure could amount to your desire? You're the one who never leaves the one behind.
Hello, my name's Caroline Adams. I'm a mother of 3 sons, a grandmother of 4 grandsons and 2 granddaughters. And I'm an only child. You can imagine that having 3 sons was quite a difficult time. I had no idea what little boys were like. And in the end, I decided to think about them as a sort of basket of puppies, really. And the best thing to do was to take them out and let them run as much as possible, as often as possible. And that was how I coped with them. We moved around quite a lot when I was a child. So I've lived in England, Scotland, and Wales. And interestingly, in the capital cities of all those places. I was born just outside London, North London. And then moved from there when I was 6. We went to live in Edinburgh. We were only there for a year, but I developed a very strong Edinburgh accent in an attempt to blend in. Apparently I got pushed down the stairs once at school as the only English child in the school. So it was, survive or die. Norman and I met in North Wales. I moved there when I was nearly 12. And we came to Cardiff in 1976. And it was an interesting development, really, because Norman was at Chester College of Law doing his Part 2 Law Society exams. And Rob Parsons was there at the same time. And they got on extremely well. And when both of them finally qualified as lawyers, Rob was obviously from Cardiff. He was already with Loosemoore's solicitors. And there happened to be a vacancy there. And so we came down and Norman had an interview. And that's what brought us to Cardiff. Interestingly, before then, we had prayed to be involved with a church that was bigger than the one we were attending in North Wales. And there weren't any bigger churches there. And within a year of moving to Cardiff, Glenwood began as Springwood, at Springwood School. And so, well, it was over a year, maybe 2 years after we prayed that prayer, events had changed so dramatically in our lives. But there was that answer to prayer, and it was quite amazing. So over the years, I have been involved with different activities in Glenwood, but at the moment, I'm one of the leaders of this new hospitality team, which is sounding very exciting. And I'm also a leader of one of the small groups, and that meets in our home. A book that influenced me is really, it was published a long time ago, and many people might not have heard of it. It was called The Hiding Place by a Dutch writer called Corrie ten Boom. And there are two aspects in that book which really stand out in my memory. And one of them is she talked a lot to her father, who was very wise, and she was saying, well, this was set in the Second World War, and they were actually involved with hiding Jews in their home and trying to keep them safe. And she was saying to her father that she didn't think she'd be brave if the situation arose for her to do something heroic. She really didn't think she'd be able to do it. And he said to her, when you were a little girl and we used to catch the tram together, when did I used to give you your ticket? And she thought back and she said, when the tram was coming, when we were just about to get on it. And he said, exactly so. He said, that's what God will be like, of giving you courage and faith at the time that you need it. And well, you can see I've not forgotten that. And I think that's a very special thing. Some of the little things that Norman and I do in order to recycle or try and not use plastics too often. We try and shop in Cardiff Market quite a lot, which means that you're buying loose fruit and vegetables. So it's not in a blister pack or in a plastic bag. And we try always as well to have a shopping bag with us so that you don't have to have a carrier bag. We've always got a Tesco bag in the glove box of the car so that if we suddenly remember we have to get something, we've got a substantial bag there, and carry a bag in our pockets. So those are small things, but every little helps.
Thank you, Caroline. That was brilliant. So good to hear from you. And Norman and Caroline, very dear to me.
Oh yeah.
Very, very dear to me.
Yeah.
They were the first people I met.
Okay, in Glenwood.
In Glenwood. Well, the four first people I met were Jill and Andrew Jameson.
Oh yeah.
And Norman and Caroline.
Ah, they're solid people.
They are, and
Yeah.
they sort of took me under their wing at the beginning, particularly Norman and Caroline. And Norman's sort of been a mentor for me for, well, since 2007.
Yeah, gosh.
And Norman and Caroline mentored me and Maddie when we got married in 2009.
Oh, amazing.
And still mentor us now.
Yeah. So we've got a lot to thank you for.
You've got a lot of work left to do.
No, I mean, I completely agree with you. I think Norman and Caroline probably some of the first people I met as well, and it wasn't long before we enjoyed a meal at their house, and they're very hospitable.
They do hospitality very well, don't
Yeah,
they? And I'm very pleased that they're heading up the hospitality
absolutely.
team.
So we're very grateful to you. Thank you.
You've just got to make sure you don't have an early start the day after you go for food at Norman and Caroline's, because they can be very late evenings, can't
Absolutely,
they? They know
very
how to
enjoyable.
party.
Yeah. Great. So when we think about light, because obviously that's our theme today, what does that mean to you, or what do you think of when we think about light?
One of the things I think about is when you have a sort of overcast day and a lot of clouds, and
which
then
we
you
have many.
In Wales we have plenty of those, don't we? And you have those little light beams that seem to pierce through the light, and I've always really loved them. And when we were talking about light a minute ago, it reminded me of these little light columns almost. And my sister used to call them spaceships.
No.
But for me, I didn't see it that way really. It more reminded me of God being able to break through any situation really, and just a reminder. I know for a lot of people, a rainbow is a reminder of God's faithfulness. But actually, for me, these little light beams are a reminder of God's ability to break through the darkness
That's
and to be with me
Yeah.
in any situation.
Yeah,
really.
that's amazing.
So-
That's very powerful, actually, and I do know what you mean. It's lovely to see that coming through. And
I'll see if I can take a picture
Oh,
at some point
watch out
if
this
we get an
week.
opportunity.
Yeah.
What about you, Rach?
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, it's quite a similar thing, but it's that phrase Martin Luther King said many years ago, that darkness does not drive out darkness. Only light can do that, and hate does not drive out hate. Only love can do that. So he used that lovely imagery of light driving out the darkness.
I've got that. I've got a painting actually.
Oh, really?
Well, it's more of an illustration.
Yeah.
So Kate Elizabeth.
yeah. Yeah,
I
yeah.
bought. Me and Maddie bought
Yeah.
bought that off her.
It's lovely. It's
years
a
ago.
lovely picture, isn't it? That
Yeah.
that actually, when you hate on hate, that doesn't do anything. But actually, it's the love that breaks through, just like light breaks through, just like the
Yeah.
light breaks through those clouds. Actually,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
lovely picture. So that's one that does stay with me, and one that came to my mind when we thought about light. Actually,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So so now we're going to take, as we do, like to take a bit of time just to be quiet and maybe reflect on some of those things for yourself. So we've got a video again that just kind of reminds us that God is at the heart of creation and everything beautiful in our world. So it's just some time to take time to reflect. So we'll go into that then. And then we have a song, and then Laura Bradford is going to be talking to us about light. So,
Brilliant. Looking forward to that.
yeah.
You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. You give life, you give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. The earth will shout your praise, our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. Yeah, all the earth will shout your praise, our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. All the earth will shout your praise, our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. Great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord.
We're continuing our theme, What a Wonderful World, this week. And so I thought I'd join you from the new youth room, which is upstairs in the new wellbeing space. And perhaps one of the biggest differences in this new building is the amount of natural light that's pouring in through the wide windows. And I know some of you who've come to have a tour and look around the building have pointed that out. So let's head on up there.
I hear it like a pounds upon Pico. Look at what the light did now. I bear it like a bounce upon Pico. Look at what the light did now.
And so here we are. And the young people are really excited to have this room as a dedicated space for them. And as you can see behind me, we're currently getting it ready to use. It's a room with big windows letting in all that natural light. And over the road we can see the trees, and we're hoping to put some plants along the windowsills. And right above us on the roof, solar panels are being installed. These solar panels will harness the light and heat from the sun to create a renewable source of energy which will help to fuel the daily running of our building. Exciting stuff, isn't it? And so today we're going to be focusing all on light. Light being the life force of the world. And of course we have that creative declaration at the beginning of Genesis 1 as God says, "Let there be light," a kickstart into creation. And over the next few weeks we'll be exploring other key elements within the environment, all found in this Genesis 1 story, where God is creator, bringing order out of chaos and creating an environment for created beings to inhabit. You may have already noticed how this story has been carefully crafted to represent God bringing creation into its fullness. Light. God says light, and there was day and there was night. Water. God says, "Let there be waters, sky above and oceans below." And God says, "Let there be land and vegetation too, trees and plants growing fruit and vegetables." And God says, "Fill the day and night with sun, moon, stars, creating a daily rhythm and a seasonal rhythm. Fill the sky and the oceans too with teams of fish and flocks of birds. And fill the land with herds of animals and with people." We see the creation of environments as spaces to inhabit, and then the filling of those spaces with all creatures and beings, from the formless to the fullness. And creation isn't a one-off, done and dusted thing, but it's an ongoing process as new life continues to be birthed each day. And so each week, as it unfolds during this Glenwood series, we're going to be looking at those various aspects of this amazing creation, at water and birds and trees. What a wonderful world. But today, let us begin with light. Light as the source of life. And we often use light as imagery to symbolize God's presence with us. Light as our hope in the darkness. Blessed be your light of life, source of the sacred flame within us, light which the darkness cannot put out. I rise up with you this day. I rest with you this night. And Psalm 27 also declares God as our light and our salvation. And light and salvation, they go hand in hand, with light as that life force, giving life to creation. And without creation, there can be no redemption, as Ruth Valerio addresses in the book that we're basing this series on, Saying Yes to Life. And Celtic spirituality, part of our Welsh history, grasps the value of nature so well, doesn't it? Binding it into an abundant faith and a way of seeing the world, a world that's been created good. throughout Genesis, God saw that what God created was good. And it's the light that enables sight. And what we see is good. And without light, there would be no colour too. In fact, light isn't something that we see, but it's something that allows us to see. So light points us to the Creator, and it helps us to see the beauty of the created. Light connects us to the rest of creation, because we all depend on it. Animals, fish, birds and trees. In fact, to give you an example, kestrels use ultraviolet light to hunt, and beech trees begin their growth once it's been light for at least 13 hours a day. Light reminds us to take our place amongst creation too, with plants using light and water to convert carbon dioxide into the oxygen that we breathe. The interconnectedness of it all is just amazing, isn't it? And you may have seen these comparisons that have gone viral also on social media. Lungs and trees. A tree stump and a fingerprint. Micro and macro, a brain cell in the universe. And the human eye and the Helix Nebula. Light is also fundamental to climate change as we tap into its energy, with clean energy identified as the golden thread that connects all the Sustainable Development Goals. It's important because fossil fuels have played a role in the climate emergency that we're facing. It's having an impact on God's creation, both on people and on planet. Electricity is one of the largest sources of CO2 emissions, and we need to find ways of using renewable sources that neither pollute the environment nor pump greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. We have a responsibility of care for our world, but that may seem daunting as we approach the climate crisis. Not all of us are in a position to be putting solar panels on our roofs. But we don't change the world all by ourselves. We respond to God's voice and we partner with others. Here's some suggestions of the kind of things that we can be doing. We could turn appliances off at the wall, plant some trees, choose a domestic energy supplier that uses renewable energy, use energy efficient lights, and pray for the UN Climate Change Conference in November. So where does light feature in our own life? Are we tapping into that source? Are we connected to the nature around us? What changes might you make? And when will you make them? May the blessing of light be upon you, light within and light without. Amen.
Thank you so much, Laura. That was excellent. I really, really enjoyed that. And thank you for that encouragement for us to do the little things that can make a big difference.
Yeah. What about you, Dave? Actually, you've not shared. What little things might you do?
I think I've been thinking a little bit about this over the last few weeks, what sort of thing. And one of the things that we've done, which I think has probably had the biggest impact, but wasn't a massive thing, and it's only when you look back, is we eat a lot more vegetarian food now.
Okay. Yeah.
Or chicken if we do eat meat. We very rarely eat, or we very rarely buy red meat. And that's off the back of learning how much energy and feed, water is used to produce quite a small amount of red meat. And also the methane as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
So that's one small thing that we've done, sort of making that sort of conscious choice to eat more vegetarian food.
Yeah. And you're right, it's about informing ourselves, isn't it, and finding out a bit more, because sometimes if you don't know, there's not anything we can do. So I think it's important to inform ourselves. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, great. Thank
Fab.
you. So we have our prayer meeting, our prayer Zoom on Tuesday at 7:30. So do join us on Tuesday. It'd be great to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and great to see you as well.
Yeah, thanks, Rach.
Yeah.
So that's it from us
that
then, I
is
guess, isn't it?
that is it from us. Have a good week. Take care. Bye.
Christ be with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ within me, Christ below me, Christ above me, Christ be with me. At my right hand, at my left hand, as I lie down, as I rise up, as I stumble, as I fall down, Christ, as I stand, Christ in the heart of everyone who thinks of me, Christ in the mouth of everyone who speaks of me, Christ in every eye that sees me, Christ in